Could George Floyd's event have been prevented? Could that have been prevented?
Yeah. I mean, I think the obvious, and I'm just kind of parroting, things I've heard and read, throw maybe a little common sense on it. You've got an officer who has a history of discipline problems. I've heard people say, and even good friends of mine who, we've talked, and they're on the other side of this issue, and they say there's a thin blue line. There's a blue line of silence. So you see maybe a little bit of that with these other officers putting up with George. What's his, not Floyd? What's the officer's name? I forget.
Derek? Are you talking about Derek?
Derek, yeah, Derek. So they put up with him. They know he's a hothead. They know he's a problem, and they choose. Hey, we got to get along. We're all part of the same team here, and we're not going to say or do anything because that's just not what we do. That, how do you break that? Well, and I'm not holding the FBI up as an example, but within the FBI, if you are aware of misconduct by somebody, or they violated some policy procedure, they're violated a computer thing, or they're acting out, there's something wrong, and it blows up into an issue, a disciplinary issue or something like that, and the investigation, the internal, determines that, hey, Chris Graham, you knew that Pat had a habit of really yelling at people, and he hit this person once on the back of the head during an interview. You were there. That's against policy. You saw it. You didn't do anything. Guess what? You're in just as much, maybe not in as much trouble, but now your career is on the line. And I think some police departments have variations of that, but you've got to make it so, and you take the personality out of it. So if I could say to you, all right, hey Pat, I had to tell them what I saw. It's not personal. I don't have, but I got to look out for my career. I can't, I got a family to feed.
But then you're a snitch if you do that, right?
Well,
so then
I know, but you got to take it out of that. You've got to make it, hey, I didn't want to, you call me a snitch. I didn't, the agency, the same agency we both work for, the same agency that pays our salary, put these requirements on me just like they put them on you. If you saw something, I expect you to say about me.
Yeah, how much sensitivity is there? You know how you see these movies, and in the movies they show a bad cop, two bad cops, and a good cop. The two bad cops go and rob a guy of cocaine and $200,000 of cash, and they decide to split it, and the third guy doesn't want to take it. He's like, dude, I don't want to have anything to do with this. You almost see the other two guys doing whatever they can to put this guy out, and they're worried about him being a snitch, and his career is pretty much done.
Right.
So there's the pressure of almost not accepting. Now, this is Hollywood, so I'm not in the world to know what happens. It almost seems like there's pressure for the good cop to also participate in the bad behavior, because if you don't, they can end up, turning on you, and you got a reputation coming back. So I guess what I'm trying to ask here is, so we have Derek Chauvin, right? The guy who put the knee on George's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. What do you do to see these trends and say, listen, because I'm telling you, this friend of mine was the calmest guy. We'd go to nightclubs. He would talk to girls like this. Hey, what's your name? So this. And he was so smooth. He was so chill. He was the calmest guy I knew. When I became a cop, then all of a sudden he went more like this and like this. And one day we went out, started telling people off, hey, bitch. Hey, bitch. I'm like, never seen you talk like this before. What happened to you? And I sat him down one day. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a little concerned about you. He said, why is that? I said, I don't know what the hell is going on with you, but you acting like the world owes you something. And he got emotional. He said, Pat, I'm telling you, this badge and this gun is doing something. Now, this is coming from a guy that was in the military for 3 years, 101st Airborne Division, had a assault weapon, had an M16. I mean, I'm telling you from a guy who was in the military. But I saw it did something to some people. How do you control and be able to read somebody about to go the direction of being a bad cop, bad agent? How do you catch that? What are some signs to look for?
Well, I got to ask you, you've known this guy. You said you knew him before he was a cop.
Oh, yeah. Nicest guy in the world.
There was nothing in his personality.
Nothing. He was a sweetheart from a loving family. Mom and dad never got a divorce. My parents got a divorce. So you could have seen my temper and said, well, it comes from his this. But nothing. Was raised in America, went to a nice school, had a brother. They got along. He was with the same girl since he was 16 years old. Nothing happened with them. He loved her. She loved him. They eventually, what the streak of how in 5 years, boom, like this. I couldn't understand it.
I'd hopefully like to think he's just the anomaly, and that,
So what you're saying, so based on what you're saying, you're making me think that a lot of the part of having a Derek Chauvin is in the hiring process and in the background check. Is that where you're going?
It's both,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So you weed them out in the hiring process. A lot of these, they do psych tests, things like that. I think some of these background, the background stuff's usually pretty cursory, right? I mean, they're not getting into, hey, Pat, you knew this guy in middle school. Did he ever get in a fight? What do you remember about that? That kind of background.
So fair enough. So what questions give you red flags? So ask me the questions. What are some of the questions that would give you a good scoring on your end to say predictive analytics? Why this guy, we can't hire this guy. This guy's a little bit of a loose cannon.
I've watched some of your interviews, and you probably should have been an FBI agent, because you do a great job of two things, right? You have your facts, but you listen, and often it's an open-ended question. So, I mean, I can't off the top of my head come up with like specific background questions, but if I'm doing a background on Derek Chauvin, he's ready to get into the police department, and you're his best friend. You've known him for forever. You went to high school together. I'm using this hypothetically. I'm going to ask you, just talk about him. Tell me about him. And, he played linebacker. Tell me about how he played, and just try to work off of that and get bits and pieces into a personality. And hopefully something comes out. Not always it does. I mean, your friend's a classic example. I mean, something must have happened on the job, or there was something latent in there. I think many of these guys, there was always clues. It's just like, it's like when somebody turns out to be a pedophile, or something, somebody shoots something up, people come out, oh, well, yeah, there was always something a little, if you really press it, there was something about that guy. I think with a lot of these cops who really go bad, it was always something there. Now, that said, I've had friends, and the job changes them. There's no doubt about that, you work in a difficult environment where the community does not like you, and you are a sign of bad things. I mean, when I get nervous now. I get nervous when I get pulled over, and I got no reason to. It's not, so you're people involved in that environment. It takes a toll on people, and it's how they deal with it.